100 years ago, World War I decimated Europe and left deep scars in its geography. Each year in France, archaeologists exploring the battlefields dig up weapons, personal belongings, and the broken bodies of soldiers who fought and died in the war. Frenchmen, Britons and Germans, but also Americans, who came over to fight side by side with the Allies. These relics bring a little-known chapter of history to light. Why did these soldiers cross the Atlantic? What did they come to fight for here in old Europe? And how did America shape its own future by plunging into this war? (1917). For the past 3 years, the French and English troops have been bogged down in their trenches, buried by a hail of shells, exhausted by the noise and racked by hunger. As the months went by, their situation declined. The war seemed endless. The Allied troops' morale was at its lowest ebb. Then in April, a piece of news spread hope through the trenches. News that would change the course of history. America was joining the war. Across the ocean, thousands of young Americans flocked to train stations and passenger ports. Little knowing what lay ahead, they larked around with their fellow passengers, soon to be brothers in arms. They thought naively that it would be a short but grand adventure. They would soon find out what war was really like. In the past 20-odd years in France, as the land is put to different use, archaeologists have been unearthing the war's forgotten relics. Contemporary archaeology is an up-and-coming science that revives the work of historians and builds links with a recent past that is fading from living memory. A temporary German cemetery discovered in Bult-sur-Suippe bears witness to the violence of the first few months of the war.
Pour certains, on retrouve des balles dans les volumes thoraciques des chairs. On retrouve beaucoup d'éclats d'obus. Certains ont commencé à être soignés, donc ils ont encore les attelles, mais on voit que toute une jambe ou une partie du corps est encore criblée d'impacts d'obus ou de billes de shrapnel.
C'est une guerre industrielle avec un massacre de masse. Une efficacité des armes de destruction, on le voit sur les squelettes. Hein. Un petit éclat d'obus aussi gros qu'un ongle laboure le corps et entraîne le décès quasi immédiatement, ou en tout cas dans peu de temps après. Donc on a vraiment, on perçoit la fragilité du corps et la fragilité des individus.
Ils sont balancés dans une fournaise qu'eux-mêmes n'appréhendent pas ou ne pouvaient pas estimer. Donc effectivement, la mort est violente.
3 years into the war, millions already lay dead. Why on earth did Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States, pitch American men into this furnace? As a staunch pacifist, he was appalled by the Europeans' attitudes and had campaigned on a platform of keeping the US out of the war. American public opinion was behind him. For now, America's president and people were watching the war from a distance. only a handful of US reporters had been sent to Europe. Like this man, 25-year-old Cyrus Leroy Baldridge. Since August 1914, Cyrus had been traveling through German-occupied Belgium and France as a war reporter and artist. But despite his articles and illustrations, the Americans back home were deaf to the tragedy unfolding in Europe. But then a sequence of events turned public opinion against Germany. On May the 7th, 1915, the ocean liner Lusitania, bound from New York to Britain, with more than 1,200 civilians on board, including 139 Americans, was torpedoed by a German submarine. A year later, a spectacular explosion ripped through Black Tom Island, blowing rivets out of the Statue of Liberty. The investigation revealed it had been a terror attack by German agents. Six months later, Germany resumed its unrestricted submarine warfare and sent a coded message that the Americans intercepted, asking Mexico to invade Texas and Arizona. Public opinion was now well and truly in the Allies' favor. The German Empire had sealed its own fate. On April 2nd, 1917, President Wilson stood before Congress. The French ambassador, who was present, described his historic address.
When he declared in his speech that Germany's deeds were acts of war, applause rang out at nearly every sentence, especially when he said he wished to end the war and break the tyranny of Germany's leaders.